8 and 9 are in some ways the same, but they're a little bit different. Accurately document the deal. Sometimes that means to have somebody else in your office take a look at it and make sure that what you've written in terms of what's happening, make sure it makes sense. And also remove ambiguities in documents. I'll try to tell you a little bit about the difference between the two. First of all, let's go to the next slide. The actual from a lease that I had to deal with. Lessor grants to lessee, I'll back up a little bit, say landlord and tenant instead of lessor and lessee. Nobody knows what that means. Everybody knows what it means, but it's much easier. Landlord, tenant, grants to lessee the option to extend the term of this lease for 7 additional 12-month periods, which means 7 years, right? Commencing when the prior term expires, etc. That sounds to me like a 7-year option. It's not what they meant to have it be. They meant to be 7 one-year options. But that is written in such a way that I think, if you really parsed it out, that's probably a 7-year option with some ambiguity. And you know what's going to happen? There's going to be a fight about it. Okay? Go. Lessor grants to lessee an option to extend the term of the lease for 7 separate. Adding the word separate really helps that. Additional 12-month periods. Even better is the bottom one, I think. It's a little shorter. You get 7 individual 12-month options to extend the term. Each such option commencing. Again, it's just English language. You just try to go through it. And what happens is, when you're involved in the deal, everybody knows what you're talking about. Right? You know what you're talking about. And you start to short-circuit things. You do shortcuts. But at the end of the day, have somebody else look at it who's not involved in the deal. Because if you ever go to litigation and there's a judge looking at it, it'll be a judge who doesn't know what the original deal is either. So have somebody not involved in the deal take a look at it and help you out. Go ahead. This was an Oshman's lease down over at Del Amo. We represented Del Amo for years and years. This was the option period, or I'm sorry, the CPI adjustment. Okay, fairly standard. On the 5th anniversary, we're going to have a CPI adjustment. The adjustment will be done by this. You multiply the base rent by the CPI change. We've seen this 100 times, right? And then 3.05 is our understanding that the adjusted base rent will be the initial rent added to the adjustment. Okay? So you make that. Does anybody see the problem with that? Go ahead. Turn the page. It is our understanding the adjusted base rent shall be the initial base rent added to the adjustment, and the adjustment as calculated is not the $4,000 increase. The adjustment was written $24,000. So Oshman's had to pay $44,000 according to this, and that one's not ambiguous at all. It's perfectly clear what it says, but it's clearly what nobody meant. The problem was Oshman's discovered this problem 5 years after the adjustment went into effect, after the statute of limitations had run, on challenging the mistake. If they discovered the mistake as soon as it happened, they could have gone to court. 5 years later, what happened is at the start of the 5-year period, some accounting clerk back in Dallas sent the new check out at $44,000. They didn't know that it just made no sense. She did the math and wrote it out and sent a check. And nobody caught it for 5 years until finally somebody says, why the hell are we paying $44,000 for Del Amo Mall? So again, it's a great example of something that really happened. Oshman's big company, the landlord, big company, they just wrote it wrong.
Did Del Amo question the higher rent?
Del Amo, my client, did the right thing. Once they found out about it, we adjusted the rent back. But we didn't have to. Okay? And no brokers died in the process. Go ahead. So one thing that we found, my firm is Greenberg Glusker. Phil Glusker always had 2 rules. Number 1, when you get involved in a project, go see the dirt. Go actually look at it, look at the building, look at what you're talking about. Number 2, when you're documenting it, give an example. Okay? That clarifies any confusion. In the Oshman's case, thus, if the CPI index is 120, the base was 100, the adjusted rent shall be $24,000 per month. Give an example. If notice is given on a particular day, is necessary by this day, it must be received by that day. That sort of thing. I think I might have that. Go ahead, Mark. Okay, very important. AIR, it's all about this, which is honor your professional obligations. The first thing I said was, do the right thing. You guys kind of know what the right thing is. Everybody's got, almost everybody has, a sense about what is right. And if it doesn't feel right, you're probably not honoring your professional obligations. You're probably not following any of the 10 Commandments if it doesn't feel right. You all know that. Okay? Go ahead. Just do the right thing. It's not always possible to do the right thing. Sometimes you're in business with people who aren't doing the right thing. And sometimes you just may mess up. If you do, give me a call.